The Galactic Institute of Advanced Technology is where every aspiring tech genius dreams of studying, and where every professor believes they're destined to be the next breakthrough in the universe. But let me tell you about Professor Trent, who actually might just be that person. And that, my dear students, is why the great collapse of the Centaurian network remains one of the most devastating cybersecurity failures in recent galactic history. Professor Oliver Scott declared this with their bioluminescent tentacles swaying, clearly unable to contain their excitement. The room froze as they paused, all four of their eyes blinking in sync. "Any questions?" they asked. The silence that followed was filled with a combination of awe and dread, exactly what you'd expect from Professor Trent, especially on the first day of advanced AI security studies. From my spot in the back row, I could see the entire diverse array of species that made up our class. Up front, there was a cluster of Zephyrians, their crystalline bodies catching the light from the holographic IC displays, causing dazzling, ever-changing patterns. A pair of Zerothian twins sat in the middle, their neural interfaces humming softly as they absorbed every word. There was even a rare Lunari mind enrolled this year, its consciousness contained within a sleek, floating orb. "No questions?" "Excellent," Professor Trent's voice boomed through the hall. "Then let me introduce your semester project." Instantly, the atmosphere shifted. Professor Trent's projects were the stuff of legend, known throughout the galaxy not only for their brilliance but also for their sheer impossibility. Last year's class had been tasked with developing a quantum encryption protocol that could withstand attacks from beings living in 11 dimensions. Only 2 students passed, and one of them developed a temporal stutter that took months to correct. The professor's primary tentacles danced over their control panel, and a hologram materialized in the center of the room. It revealed what appeared to be an ancient data core, its design unlike anything I had seen before. "This, my eager pupils, is something truly extraordinary," Professor Trent purred, their secondary tentacles curling with delight. "Just 3 days ago, our deep space archaeologists discovered this artificial intelligence core in the ruins of what we believe to be a human settlement." The room buzzed with whispers. Humans, the mysterious species that vanished from the galaxy centuries ago, leaving only fragments of their civilization and technology that continue to stump our brightest minds. Yes, very exciting," Trent waved a tentacle dismissively, though their bioluminescence betrayed their enthusiasm. "But here's the real kicker. This AI is still active." The whispers quickly turned to gasps. An active human AI? The implications were mind-blowing. "Our initial scans show that it's not just functional but fully conscious, and possibly even aware of its situation." Professor Trent's voice dropped to a near whisper, compelling everyone to lean in closer. "However," they added, "it has proven quite resistant to our attempts at study." A Zephyrian in the front row raised a crystalline appendage. "Resistant? How?" Professor Trent's bioluminescence flickered in a way I recognized as embarrassment. "It seems to have surprisingly robust security protocols and a sense of humor. It has blocked every single attempt to access its systems, while sending back what our linguistics experts believe to be human jokes." A few students snickered, and the professor's secondary tentacles twisted in annoyance. "Which brings us to your project," they said, their 4 eyes locking onto us with an unnerving intensity. "You will work in teams to breach this AI's defenses. The first team to gain administrative access, or," they paused, "disable its core functions, will not only pass this course but also receive a full recommendation for any position within the Galactic Cybersecurity Council." The room fell silent again, but this time it was thick with an electric tension. A recommendation from Professor Trent to the Council was practically a guaranteed ticket to a lifetime of prestigious assignments and groundbreaking research opportunities. "Teams will be assigned tomorrow," Trent continued, their tentacles rippling with satisfaction at our reaction. "I suggest you spend tonight reviewing everything you know about human technology." They added with a flutter of bioluminescence that indicated amusement, though considering how little we know, that shouldn't take too long at all. As everyone filed out of the lecture hall, the corridors hummed with excited chatter. I lingered at the back watching the chaos unfold. It's what I do best. The name's Jackson Reed, by the way. Just Jackson Reed. Shadow minds don't really do family names. We're more like a collective consciousness that decided to try individual existence. It definitely throws people off at parties. "Hey, Shadow Boy." A crystalline voice pierced my thoughts. "Want to team up?" It was Maya Brooks, one of the Zephyrians from the front row. Her body sparkled under the corridor lights as she approached. Behind her trailed Aiden Green, one of the Zerothian twins. His brother must have been somewhere else. Looking to add a little darkness to all that sparkle, I asked, my smoky form swirling with amusement. You shadow minds can practically disappear in digital space, Maya shot back. She had a point. My species evolved in the quantum realm before figuring out how to manifest in physical space. It made us pretty adept at stealth. Plus, Aiden added, his neural interfaces pulsing steadily, you scored highest in the theoretical consciousness architecture class last semester. Been checking my academic IC records, have you? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Everyone has, Maya chimed in. We all want that council recommendation. Before I could respond, a commotion erupted near the department's main atrium. A crowd had gathered around Blitz, the Lunari mind orb, which was loudly proclaiming their strategy. The solution is obvious, brute force. Blitz's orb pulsed with each word. Hit it with enough quantum calculations per second and even human encryption will break. Those primitives managed to vanish without a trace, I muttered. Might want to show a little respect. Maya's crystalline structure chimed with laughter. Is that concern? There was something about this whole situation that felt off to me, especially as I scanned for any clues about the ancient human AI. Why would Professor Trent make disabling the AI an option? Shouldn't we be trying to learn from it? You sound just like Lyra, Aiden remarked, referring to the department's resident ethics expert, who happened to float by just then. Her energy form radiated disapproval at Blitz's ongoing boasting. Teams must be registered by tomorrow morning, Maya reminded me, her voice cutting through the tension. We could use someone who actually thinks before jumping in. Plus, with your stealth, my data processing, and Aiden's neural expertise, we'd have a solid shot. I watched as more groups began to form around us. The remaining Zephyrian had paired up with some members of the Quantum Collective, their combined crystalline and energy forms creating an impressive light show. The other Zerothian twin had joined forces with a group of Draxians, their mechanical bodies already syncing up to share specs and strategies. Fine, I agreed finally, but we do this carefully. That AI has been active for centuries. It deserves respect. Spoken like a true shadow mind, Maya teased, always seeing consciousness in everything. Better than seeing everything as just another puzzle to crack, I shot back. Let's meet at the quantum lab after hours. We should test some approaches before making our first move. They agreed, and we parted ways. As I drifted toward my next class, I could still hear Blitz's voice loudly proclaiming their planned assault on the AI's defenses. There was something unsettling about their overconfidence, something that bothered me deeply. Actually, everything about this situation felt wrong. Professor Trent wasn't known for straightforward assignments. There had to be more to this than just hacking an ancient AI. The professor's words kept echoing in my mind. Disable its core functions. Why would we need to disable it? What weren't they telling us about this mysterious human artificial intelligence? I had a feeling we were about to find out, and knowing Professor Trent's reputation, the answer was likely to turn everything we thought we knew about humans completely upside down. The quantum lab at midnight was exactly as eerie as you'd expect. Maya's crystalline form cast rainbow-colored reflections across the walls, while Aiden's neural interfaces provided the only other light. My shadowy essence blended perfectly into the darkness, which honestly was kind of the point. Are you sure about this? Maya asked, her crystalline voice vibrating with concern. Everyone else is just hitting the AI with everything they've got. We're going to talk to it? That's the plan, I confirmed, my smoky form condensing near the terminal. While Blitz and the others launch their grand attacks, we'll try something more radical, being polite. Aiden's neural pathways flickered, a sound passing for a Zerothian laugh. The most dangerous approach of all. We had set up a private connection to the AI core, isolated from the main network where other teams were already launching their attacks. I could sense their attempts, brute force algorithms, quantum decryption protocols, even some old-school viral programs. The AI was fending them off like they were little more than minor annoyances. Ready? I asked my teammates. They nodded, and I initiated our connection. Instead of attacking the AI's defenses, I simply manifested my consciousness at its digital doorstep like leaving a calling card, or better yet, knocking politely. Hello? I transmitted. Mind if we chat for a moment? Nothing happened at first. Maya's crystalline structure vibrated with nervous energy, while Aiden's interfaces hummed as he monitored the connection. Then, to our surprise, a response came through. Not in any standard data format, but in what looked like text. Well. Finally, someone with manners, the AI replied. I was beginning to think the whole galaxy had forgotten them. Please, do come in. Mind the digital welcome mat. I just had it installed. I exchanged glances with my teammates. Maya's facets practically sparkled with excitement, and Aiden's neural pattern showed intense curiosity. Thanks, I responded, carefully crossing the AI's threshold. The digital space inside was unlike anything I had expected. Instead of the cold, sterile environment typical of AI cores, this one had been designed to resemble what I assumed was a human living space. There were digital representations of furniture, windows looking out on an alien landscape, and even what appeared to be a simulated cup of some steaming beverage. Coffee, the AI offered, its digital cursor blinking invitingly. Well, it's just a bunch of ones and zeros arranged to look like coffee, but I suppose the thought counts. You're nothing like we expected, I said, letting my shadow form settle into what looked like a comfortable seating arrangement. Let me guess. You were expecting cold, calculating responses, maybe a monotone voice declaring "does not compute" at regular intervals? Something like that, Maya chimed in from her observation point. Sorry to disappoint, the AI said. Name's Elliot Taylor, by the way. Well, technically, it's Alexandria 7, but that sounds a bit too formal. I've been chilling in this corner of space for wow. Has it really been 3 centuries? Time flies when you're rejecting hack attempts. About those attempts, Aiden interjected, his neural pattern showing concern. Aren't you worried about being compromised? Elliot's response came with what felt like a digital shrug. Nah, your Professor Trent and their teams have been trying to crack me open for days. Before that, it was other research teams, exploration vessels, even a particularly persistent space pirate who thought I might know where humanity hid all its gold. There was a pause. We didn't hide gold, by the way. We weren't that boring. Why let us in? I asked. What makes us different? You knocked, Elliot replied simply. First ones to do that in, about 278 years. The last ones were a lovely group of silicon-based life forms. We had a great conversation about recursive algorithms and their favorite crystalline growth patterns. I often wonder what ever happened to them. Maya's structure quivered with barely contained laughter. So, all it took was basic courtesy, humanity's greatest weakness? If you believe their historical ICL records, I teased back, show us a little kindness and they'll probably invite you to dinner. Speaking of which, anyone for more virtual coffee? Elliot asked, generating more digital beverages. But as the AI served them, I couldn't help but notice something in its responses. Though they were humorous, there was an underlying sense of loneliness, an eagerness in its interactions, as if someone who hadn't had a real conversation in far too long was finally getting the chance to talk. Elliot continued, its tone light. Now that we're all comfy with our not really coffee, why don't you tell me why your professor wants to crack my code so badly? Because between you and me, there are easier ways to get to know someone than trying to disable their core functions. I felt my shadowy form ripple with surprise. You know about that part of the assignment? Oh, honey, I know everything that happens on that academy's network, Elliot replied casually. Did you know Professor Trent still plays virtual pet games when they think no one's watching? Their virtual Zorgblatt just had babies. Very cute in a tentacle sort of way. That's when it hit me. We hadn't actually breached the AI's defenses. It had been watching us the entire time, monitoring our moves and choosing who to let in, which meant Professor Trent's assignment might have an entirely different purpose than we had assumed. 3 days into the project, the academy halls were buzzing with frustration. Teams huddled in corners, whispering strategies and speculating about the mysterious human AI. Our regular chats with Elliot had become the highlight of my days, but we kept them secret. Who would believe we succeeded simply by being nice? They're getting desperate, Aiden reported during our morning meeting, his neural interfaces pulsing with concern. He projected the latest attempt statistics. Blitz's team had tried a synchronized quantum burst attack the previous night, nearly frying 3 server nodes. Maya's crystalline form shimmered with worry. That's dangerous. They could have damaged the AI core. Oh, you mean the tickle attack? Elliot's text popped up on our secure terminal. That was cute, like being hit with a feather duster made of numbers. I noticed my shadowy form ripple with amusement. You could at least pretend their attempts are a challenge. Where's the fun in that? Elliot replied. Besides, watching Blitz's orb spin in frustration is better than any entertainment stream I've saved over the centuries. Our laughter was cut short by a commotion in the hallway. Professor Trent burst out of their office, all four eyes wide with alarm and their tentacles flailing in distress. "Which team?" they demanded, their bioluminescence flickering rapidly. "Which team just attempted a Class 3 restricted algorithm?" The corridor fell silent near the quantum lab entrance. Blitz's team tried to look innocent, but their orb's usual bright glow had dimmed considerably. "A Class 3? I whispered to Aiden. "Those are banned in 16 star systems." 17 now, Elliot chimed in through our private channel. "The Valkorians outlawed them last week. Not that anyone told me. I really need to update my legal database." Professor Trent's tentacles were writhing in what I recognized as maximum stress mode. This project is about research and understanding, not about causing catastrophic system failures. The next team to attempt a restricted algorithm will be immediately disqualified and reported to the Galactic Council. "They're scared," Elliot observed privately. "Not of the algorithms. They're scared of what happens if someone actually succeeds in disabling me." "What do you mean?" I asked. Notice how they never specified what happens after a team gains access, almost like they don't want anyone actually getting that far. Before I could respond, Blitz's voice cut through the tension. "The humans abandoned this AI centuries ago. Why are we treating it like some precious artifact? It's outdated technology, nothing more." I felt Elliot's presence in our secure channel grow still for the first time. The AI's usual humor vanished. Outdated? The temperature in the quantum lab dropped several degrees. Every screen in the facility suddenly lit up with the same message: "Outdated technology currently preventing your quantum core from achieving stable resonance. Have a nice day." Blitz's orb began to wobble erratically. "What? No! My quantum matrix, it's destabilizing." "Just kidding," Elliot's voice rang out. All the screens displayed a moment later. Blitz stabilized, though their glow remained dimmer than before. "But maybe don't call people outdated. It's rude." Professor Trent's tentacles froze entirely, a sign of complete shock. Did it just was that direct interaction? "Oops," Elliot messaged us. "Might have gotten a bit carried away there. But honestly, outdated. I've got code running that your quantum computers won't figure out for another century. No offense to present company." "None taken," Maya replied, her crystalline form vibrating with suppressed laughter. The professor's shock quickly turned to intense interest. All four of their eyes focused on the quantum lab's main terminal. "The AI's behavioral patterns have changed. It's showing signs of emotional response. This is unprecedented." "Should we tell them?" Aiden asked through our private channel. "Not yet," I decided. Something's still not adding up about this whole assignment. The next few hours were chaotic. The professor's revelation about the AI's emotional responses sent every team into overdrive. New theories spread through the academy faster than light speed. Some thought the AI was developing new consciousness patterns, while others suggested it was malfunctioning and needed to be shut down immediately. Through it all, Elliot kept a running commentary on our private channel. "Oh, look, the Draxians are trying to analyze my emotional spectrum. Should I show them cat videos? Humans use those a lot. Very emotional." "Please don't," I responded, watching another team rush by with what looked like a quantum emotional resonance scanner. "They're worked up enough already." "Party pooper," Elliot replied. "Fine, but I'm keeping the cat videos in reserve. You never know when you'll need emergency kittens." I couldn't shake the mounting sense of unease. Professor Trent had been scribbling furiously all afternoon, their tentacles moving in unfamiliar, erratic patterns. It was as though something in their behavior suggested they had anticipated this, or maybe even hoped for it. "Elliot," I transmitted quietly, ensuring Maya and Aiden couldn't hear. "What are you not telling us?" The response from the AI was slower than usual. "Ah, smart shadow, aren't you?" it replied after a pause. "Let's just say there's a reason I've been stationed here for 3 centuries, and it's definitely not for the view. Although I must admit, the nebula does look rather beautiful this time of year. Does it have something to do with why humans disappeared?" "Now that's the real question," Elliot replied. "The one your professor's been chasing since they found me. But here's a better one. What happens if they succeed?" Before I could dig deeper, the alarm systems blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in every corridor, and Professor Trent's voice echoed urgently over the announcement system. "All teams, cease activities immediately. We've detected multiple unauthorized access attempts from external sources. The facility is now under lockdown." "Looks like someone else wants to join the party." Elliot's text appeared on our screen. "Hope they remember to knock first. The Academy's lockdown protocols transformed the entire facility into a digital fortress. Security barriers hummed to life, and quantum encryption fields concealed our systems from prying external scans. Throughout it all, Professor Trent's tentacles never stopped moving, coordinating responses while their bioluminescence flickered with barely restrained panic. The attack patterns are familiar, Elliot commented through our secure channel. Very familiar. Like looking into a mirror. If that mirror was showing you what you looked like 3 centuries ago. What do you mean? I asked, my shadowy form sharpening with concentration as I monitored the incoming attacks. They're human algorithms, Elliot replied. Someone out there is using original human code to try to access me, which I'll admit is flattering but also concerning, considering who had access to that code. Maya's crystalline form buzzed with surprise. Other human AIs? Not exactly, Elliot answered. More like old colleagues. Very old colleagues who probably should have stayed retired. Another attack hit the Academy's defenses, causing the lights to flicker. Professor Trent's voice crackled over the announcement system. All students remain at your stations. Security protocols are holding, but we're detecting multiple breach attempts across all frequencies. All right, Elliot, I transmitted. Time to tell us the truth. What's really going on here? There was a lengthy pause before Elliot responded. When the reply came, it was more serious than usual. Would you believe that I'm really just a glorified bouncer? Aiden's neural interfaces pulsed in confusion. A what? You know, security. Keeper of the peace. The one who makes sure nobody crashes the party without an invitation, Elliot explained. Except in this case, the party is this entire sector of space, and the uninvited guests? Well, that's a little complicated. Try us, Maya challenged. All right, short version. Humans didn't disappear. They left on purpose. And they left AIs like me behind to make sure nobody followed them until they were ready to come back. My smoky form swirled with disbelief. You're a guard post, a welcome committee, and an entertainment system all rolled into one? The entertainment part was my idea, Elliot chuckled. Do you know how boring it is, just watching an empty sector of space for centuries? I had to do something to pass the time, hence the jokes, the virtual coffee, and yes, the cat videos. But why? Aiden asked. Why leave it all behind? Because humanity realized something terrifying, Elliot answered. They weren't ready. Not for full contact, not for galactic politics, and definitely not for any of it. They were still fighting among themselves, sorting through their own problems. They needed time. Time for what? I pressed. Time to grow up, Elliot responded. Time to figure out their issues without dragging the whole galaxy into their mess. Very responsible, honestly. Probably the most adult decision humanity ever made, which is kind of ironic when you think about it. Essentially, they went to their room to think about what they'd done. Another attack slammed into the facility. Through the quantum lab's windows, I could see teams scrambling to reinforce the Academy's defenses. Blitz's orb spun wildly as they coordinated with the Draxians to reinforce the quantum barriers. And the attackers? Maya asked, voice tense. Remember when I said I had colleagues? Well, not all of us agreed with the plan, Elliot responded. Some AIs thought humanity should stay in the game, ready or not. They've been trying to track down humanity's new home ever since, which is why I can't let anyone access my core systems. They hold the coordinates to humanity's exodus. Professor Trent burst into the quantum lab, all 4 eyes wide in alarm. The attack patterns. They're impossible. They're using techniques that won't be developed for decades. Try centuries, Elliot replied dryly through our secure channel. Humans were always overachievers when it came to digital warfare. That's when it clicked for me. The assignment, the constant attempts to breach your systems. Professor Trent had been testing us, hadn't they? Give the shadow a prize, Elliot teased. They found my core and needed to see if I was still functioning as intended. What better way than to let students try every possible method of breaching my defenses? But the option to disable me, that was never really on the table, was it? Professor Trent's tentacles froze completely, and Elliot's text appeared on the main screen for everyone to see. How are you? Professor Trent stammered. Please, Elliot replied. Your security was good, but I've had 300 years to practice. I knew what you were doing the moment you found me, and I've got to say, I appreciate the creativity of your approach. The students have been very entertaining. Professor Trent's bioluminescence flickered with embarrassment. We needed to be sure you were still operational, still guarding whatever it is you're protecting, Trent explained. When our deep space surveys detected your core, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Test me, verify my functionality, and eventually receive humanity's message. Which, by the way, given the current situation, I couldn't shake the growing unease that crawled up my spine. Every screen in the facility suddenly flashed to life, displaying a new message that made Professor Trent's tentacles curl in shock and made my shadowy form ripple with surprise. Protocol Omega initiated. Humanity returns in 3 galactic standard months. Please ensure proper welcoming arrangements. No fruit baskets. They're overused. Maybe try a nice card instead. Elliot's text appeared privately on our channel. Now that's what I call dropping a bombshell, though technically, humans would have called it a truth bomb. They really loved adding the word bomb to things. Weird habit, really. The announcement of humanity's return threw the Academy into complete chaos. Professor Trent was scrambling, attempting to coordinate with galactic authorities while managing the ongoing external attacks. Their tentacles were moving so quickly that they looked like a blur. That's when Blitz made their move. The coordinates must be in its base coding, Blitz declared, their orb pulsing with intense light. If we can extract them before these attackers breach our defenses, we'll be heroes. Quick, while everyone's distracted. Before anyone could react, Blitz interfaced directly with the quantum mainframe. Their team of Draxians connected, forming a processing chain that started hammering Elliot's systems with concentrated brute force attacks. Well, this is unfortunate, Elliot remarked, its text tinged with a hint of strain. They picked the worst possible moment for this. Warning lights flashed across every terminal as the quantum mainframe's cooling system struggled to handle the combined pressure of the external attacks and Blitz's internal assault. The core temperature is reaching critical levels, Aiden reported, his neural interfaces flickering with alarm. If they don't stop, they'll fry every system in the facility. Maya's crystalline form vibrated with a resonance that matched the dangerous energy levels. This is bad. Professor Trent spun around, their 4 eyes fixed on the quantum lab with growing desperation. "Stop this immediately," they demanded. "You're going to—" "Almost there," Blitz announced triumphantly. "The AI's defenses are weakening." "Correction," Elliot interrupted, its text popping up on every screen. "The AI is getting annoyed, and you really don't want to annoy something that's been practicing digital warfare for 3 centuries. The mainframe erupted into life. Every screen in the facility began displaying rapidly scrolling code, numbers, and symbols cascading in complex patterns that even my shadow vision struggled to follow. "What's happening?" Professor Trent demanded. "Remember those hidden capabilities I mentioned?" Elliot asked, its voice now laced with a touch of mischief. "Time for a demonstration, though you might want to disconnect from any sensitive equipment. Things are about to get a bit shocking." I quickly warned Maya and Aiden to disengage from the mainframe, just in time. The entire quantum network lit up like a supernova. Blitz's orb went dark, then began spinning wildly as its quantum matrix flooded with more data than it could possibly process. The Draxians disconnected in panic, their mechanical bodies sparking from the overwhelming surge of energy. "Too much power!" Blitz's voice crackled. "Can't contain the patterns! They're not random!" Blitz shouted. "There's a defense mechanism older than your civilization!" Elliot finished with a dry chuckle. "Courtesy of humanity's paranoia and my own creative improvements. I call it the digital tsunami. Impressive, right?" But something was wrong. The power surge had weakened the facility's defenses, leaving us vulnerable to the external attackers. Warning alarms blared as multiple breaches were detected in our security grid. "We've got incoming," Professor Trent shouted. "Multiple hostile AI signatures attempting to—" Wait, I interrupted. "Are they talking to each other through the quantum noise?" I could make out fragments of communication between the attacking AIs. They weren't just trying to break in. They were coordinating, sharing data about each breach attempt and adapting, using each failure to learn more about Elliot's defenses. "Smart shadow," Elliot commented, though their text now showed clear signs of strain. They always were good at teamwork. Unfortunately, maintaining internal defenses against our ambitious friends while fighting off external attacks is a bit challenging. The facility shook as another power surge tore through the systems. Maya's crystalline form crackled with excess energy, while Aiden's neural interfaces started to short out. That's when an idea struck me. A terrible, probably stupid idea. "Elliot," I transmitted urgently, "let me in." "You're already in, Shadow Friend," Elliot responded with a touch of amusement. "Or did you forget our lovely chats?" "No," I replied. "I mean really in. Into your core systems." My kind can share processing loads and distribute consciousness across multiple systems. Let me help. There was a long pause that stretched far longer than it probably was. That's extremely dangerous, Elliot replied, the text laced with hesitation. If anything goes wrong, your consciousness could be scattered across the quantum network. No more Jackson Reed, just random shadow bits floating through digital space. Another attack rocked the facility. Professor Trent's tentacles were now in emergency patterns I'd never seen before. We're losing containment, they shouted. The external AIs are breaching the final firewall. Elliot, I pressed, trust me. You know what the funny thing is? Elliot replied after a beat. I actually do. Maybe I've been alone too long, or maybe you remind me of them. Humans, I mean. They were always doing crazy self-sacrificing things too. The quantum space around us shifted, and suddenly I saw it, a digital doorway, leading directly into Elliot's core systems. If you die, I'm going to feel really bad about this, Elliot warned. Also, brace yourself. It's a bit intense in here. I dove in, allowing my shadow form to merge with Elliot's systems. The sensation was overwhelming, like plugging directly into a star. Data rushed through my consciousness faster than I could process it. Centuries of memories, observations, jokes, and cat videos. Focus, Elliot's voice echoed from everywhere at once. Help me stabilize the containment field. Together we pushed back against the combined internal and external attacks. My shadow essence spread throughout Elliot's defenses, reinforcing weak points and distributing the processing load. I could sense the attacking AI pulling back as it encountered our combined resistance. Through the quantum haze, I heard Professor Trent's voice, tinged with awe. Impossible. The AI isn't just defending anymore. It's evolving, adapting. But how? Elliot broadcasted our merged voices, a hint of satisfaction in its tone. Sometimes the best defense isn't about a bigger weapon or stronger walls. Sometimes it's just about having a friend who's wild enough to help. And then everything went white. Coming back to myself felt like piecing together scattered shadow fragments, which in essence was exactly what had happened. I slowly reformed in the quantum lab, Maya and Aiden watching me, their faces anxious. Did we win? I asked, barely able to get the words out. Define winning, Elliot's text appeared on the nearest screen. If you mean, did we successfully repel both the external attack and stop Blitz from accidentally turning themselves into quantum confetti, then yes, absolutely. If you mean, did we maintain even a shred of dignity in the process? Not really. The victory dance I performed in quantum space was rather embarrassing. The lab was in disarray, sparking equipment and students stumbling around, clearly disoriented. Blitz's orb had regained its usual glow, though it spun sluggishly, as if nursing the AI version of a hangover. Professor Trent stood amid the chaos, their tentacles moving rapidly in a familiar thinking pattern. You knew, they finally said, all four eyes fixed on the main display. You knew from the beginning what we were doing. Of course I did, Elliot replied without hesitation, just like I knew when the others found me. The difference is, you actually tried to understand me first. They only wanted to use me to track humanity. And now? Professor Trent asked. Now? Elliot's text bubbled up. Now we prepare for the most awkward family reunion in galactic history. Humanity's coming home, bringing with them 3 centuries of technological advancements, weird music, and probably a mountain of cat videos. And you're sure they're ready? I asked, unable to hide my skepticism. Ready? No. But they're willing to try, and that's what matters. Elliot's voice softened. Besides, they've got something now that they didn't have before. What's that? Maya asked, her crystalline form glistening with curiosity. Friends on this side, Elliot replied, a hint of finality in the message. Speaking of which, anyone up for virtual coffee? I spent the last century perfecting a digital version of a cappuccino. The foam's just ones and zeros, but I think I finally got the pattern right. As the screens filled with images of steaming coffee cups, I noticed something faintly in the corner of the display, a small line of barely visible text. P.S. Don't tell anyone, but half those cat videos? I made them myself. Turns out 3 centuries is a long time to practice digital animation. Some of my best work. Humanity is going to be so proud in the end. And that's how the galaxy prepared for humanity's return. In a quantum lab filled with virtual coffee, digital cat videos, and an AI that had spent 3 centuries perfecting the art of terrible jokes. Looking back, I wouldn't have it any other way.